Hello, everyone. This is Sarah Fallon, and welcome to Yume Nikki, or Dream Journal. The flow is, as this says, very simple. You start in your room, get in bed, dream, and eventually wake up and repeat. While dreaming, you can get new special effects that basically act as transformations. You can activate effects for new abilities. Some of them are useful, others are just aesthetic. Some of them are situationally useful, and you can also drop effects in the door room, which we'll explain in a bit. You can save the game at your desk when you are awake. And here we are. This is our character known as Maratsuki, as you can see, which is interesting because it doesn't sound much like an actual name. This is normally a descriptive term in Japanese for something that has a window. For instance, a room with a view. In this case, it may simply mean that this character is our view on the world. We have some RPG style attributes here because this is built in RPG Maker. The E, which replaces your level, is how many effects you have discovered. The instructions, which you start with, count as 1. There are, I believe, 24 more. You have health in the top right, that does not matter. You have experience and some other things, also does not matter. There's money in the bottom left. That doesn't really matter either. In your waking room, there's really not much to do. You have a bookcase that you can't interact with. You can sit at your desk to save, and get back up. There's some stuff strewn about the floor that you can't really interact with. There's a doorway, but the character refuses to go outside. There's a television with nothing, really. There's some kind of game system. It lets you place nasu, which means eggplant. The name above this is Family Game, which is reference to the Famicom, the Japanese name for the Nintendo Entertainment System, short for Family Computer. You can move left and right and press enter to jump. If you miss an eggplant, it's game over. Let's try that one more time. Yes, you do have to be jumping to catch them, and you have to catch them in your mouth, and it's fairly strict hit detection. There we got one. Two. Such an exciting game. Apparently, there are bonus red eggplants that can sometimes appear, but yeah, hold escape to quit. Not much of a game. You also have a little balcony here. There's not much to the balcony, some few things on it. A rather vague, nondescript sky. That might be some sun through the clouds, might be the moon, can't really tell. So with all these exciting things to do, I suppose it's no wonder our protagonist likes to spend a lot of time asleep and dreaming. And you start on the balcony of your apartment, but it's not quite the same. The background is different. There's some ambient music that wasn't here before. Your journal isn't on the desk anymore. You can spin around in the chair. You can get in bed again, but usually it does nothing. There are a number of random things in the game, the dream world, rather. There are a number of different beds. One of them you can fall asleep in, and it will do something. Your television is acting a bit different here. There's a random chance for this to happen instead of getting that creepy eye, and who knows what this is. Much of the dream world is very odd and abstract, and this is no exception. Nice music, though. But in the dream world, you can leave your room, and by leaving your room, you come into what is known as the doors room, a room with 12 doors connecting to different dream worlds. So if I choose one at random, here's one of the dream worlds. It's rather bizarre. You have these numbers on the ground, an odd scrolling backdrop, weird patterns on the walls. So let's go back to the hub and try a different door. This one is, if anything, even stranger. You can try to talk to... I suppose these are NPCs. But most of them just make odd noises, and that's about it. These don't even do that. This room is full of candles, and they are much larger than I am showing here. You can go off into the distance, most of them will loop around eventually. Some have walls and borders. This has disembodied eyeballs. This has sort of an abstract art on the ground, perhaps, with even more in the background behind it. They make noises when you step on them. Another room, this seems to have murals, perhaps? They're solid and you can walk behind them. This room almost looks like a real place. There's snow on the ground, there are pine trees, there's snow falling. It's almost peaceful. This room is very dark. You can barely see yourself. In here, there are what seem to be puddles reflecting something in the sky. Occasional lampposts. The ground itself is just black. This room has another odd, abstract sort of theme. It's almost like three-dimensional Tetris blocks. And in the final door, at least in the order I was going in them, there's a forest of some sort here, but the ground is weird. If you interact with these things, they kind of turn ghostly and follow you around. Does it mean anything? Who can say? As the instructions mention, there are a number of different effects you can acquire. This one, the bicycle, is probably the most generally useful. You can activate effects from your menu, and when you are riding the bicycle, you move twice as fast on most terrains. Very handy for exploration. Most effects, as I believe was noted, will also do something you press 1 on your keyboard. The bicycle is not one of those. You can remove your equipped effect from the menu. As I recall, when you have no effect equipped, one does do something. Yes, your character will sit down. And press 1 again to stand back up. As you explore more of the game, you may find many more effects. As the instructions noted, if you wish to, you can equip an effect and press 5 in the door room to leave it here as an egg. The 12 areas you can reach from the doors, however, are not the only ones in the game. If you delve deeper into them, they will connect to other areas, such as this strange black and white world. A tunnel here that appears to do nothing. Some of your effects can interact with NPCs, for instance, the cat, if you press 1, will meow and drag them closer, provided that nothing gets in the way. However, there is also a knife if you're feeling more violent. Most NPCs can be killed, although they will come back. Sometimes this will cause changes in the nearby environment. For instance, here, the tunnel suddenly goes somewhere a bit unnerving. Bright red to contrast with the black and white, disembodied limbs, fires, perhaps a severed head floating in the sky. It is not clear. Perhaps this place expresses guilt for what you have done. Perhaps not. It is all very abstract and unclear. If perhaps you're feeling nostalgic, perhaps you would enjoy the Famicom style section of the world. Everything is lower color, lower resolution. Simple music, even for this game. And here we have a lake of some sort with an interesting ambience. Strange creatures out in the water. Lamps sticking out of the lake. Does it mean anything? Does anything mean anything? It's all a question for the philosophers. And here we have an area that bears a certain resemblance to a shopping mall, perhaps. There are what appear to be people, but like all the other people, they don't really talk. They're just kind of there. The area is a bit awkward to navigate because it appears to use sort of an isometric view, but your character doesn't actually follow the angle of the walls. And what's this we have here? Why, it appears to be a teleporter maze. Don't we just love those? This is one of many areas where having a map comes in handy. Here we have this strange place, perhaps ruins of some sort. And inside is another area of the Famicom world. The characters here do actually speak, in a sense, but it's just random, meaningless numbers. Here's something like an RPG overworld. Interestingly, while you are in the Nintendo world, even the menu appears in a more Nintendo style. If you look around, you may even find an RPG style dungeon, where you will need the lamp effect to be able to see much of anything. And like anywhere else, should you grow tired of exploring, or get lost or stuck, or simply want to leave, you can always press the 9 button on your keyboard to pinch your cheek and return to the real world, where you can save at your desk or get back in bed and enter another dream. And let's end this on perhaps the most famous part of Yume Nikki. If you can find it, here's an almost earthbound looking house with a ponytail girl popularly known as Poniko. As with anyone else, you can't really interact with her, except using cat or knife. You could turn off the light, it doesn't seem to do much. However, there is a small chance that when you turn off the light, and you need to exit and re-enter or wait a little while before redoing this to reset the random number generation, but a small chance that this will happen. This is Uboa. If you touch Uboa, you come here. Where is here? Like pretty much everything else, it's really not clear. The entire dream world is curious and strange and mostly abstract, and it's not clear what anything means if anything does mean anything. The game never explains. All we know is what we can see and find and speculate, much like the character themselves. Nothing is known for certain, nothing is explained. It's all about the adventure, the exploration, the discovery, and the wild mass guessing. Remember, you can always wake up by pinching your cheek. There is, of course, much more to the game world than this. There is even sort of an ending if you collect all the effects and do something with them. But this was enough to give an overview of the game. This has been Arafellin playing Yume Nikki. If I can find a functioning link, which shouldn't be too difficult, I will leave it in the description. Feel free to explore on your own.